Hi, thank you everyone. Thank you for being so patient for me. I just wanted to have a go at setting it up online. There's people that join us from all around the world in our WhatsApp community, so I'm going to record it instead of doing the Zoom. So yeah, as I was saying, today we are talking about HTML to Markdown. Some companies have started actually auto transferring pages from HTML to Markdown. So we're going to talk about why that's significant. We're also going to be talking about Composer 2, which is the new model from Cursor. There's been some beef, some controversy about that, so we're going to break it down and how you can use that. We're also going to be talking about some of the new features in Claude Co-Work. So if you haven't jumped on Claude Co-Work, definitely worth doing that. And then for the demo section, we are going to have a little bit of a walkthrough of what I have been doing with YouTube. So I've just been using Claude Code to automate my YouTube flow for me. So I sort of announced that last week what I did, and we're 1 week on. So I'm going to show you some early results of how Claude is essentially acting as my YouTube manager and shorts editor as well. So you can in fact do some pretty interesting editing with Claude. So then to start with, we are going to talk about HTML to Markdown. Now, start a question for everybody. Who knows what HTML stands for? All it is. Who was paying attention in IT class at school? Anyone? Boom! 10 points to Gryffindor. Yeah. Or should that be Slytherin? Yeah. I mean, so what is hypertext markup language?
Well, generally,
Yeah.
I'm a website
The developer. Yeah.
HTML is like the content of the website. So it's your images, your text. It's like all of the building blocks, and then CSS is the styles on top of that, and then JavaScript is anything that makes it move or function.
And why it was so you're absolutely right. You're dead spot on. It's called like hypertext because it's essentially supposed to be a human readable way of like seeing interconnected documents. So you're supposed to be able to look at this text and be able to understand in very sort of basic terms the layout of the page and the text that's in it. So you see the text components and then you have all these brackets around it. And it was developed as a way to embed that. But we've slowly built on top of it. So Tony's absolutely right. We put CSS on there for actually creating formatting and styling and stylization. So we've reached this point now where now we have JavaScript and all kinds of things going on in there, where it's a pretty heavy, hefty piece of document. Now, if you're an AI bot and you're going and you're scraping the website, as you do now, right? So some of your visitors to your website these days are not going to be mere mortals like us. They're going to be AI agents. They are going to encounter a very dense piece of text that they need to parse. So one of the initiatives that has been rolled out by Cloudflare and also by Gcore, Cloudflare are Gcore's biggest competitor, is a tool which will pass the HTML automatically into Markdown. So before your AI agent actually gets there, it knows that it's an AI agent and it serves them a Markdown version of your website. Does everybody know what Markdown is and is familiar with it? Markdown is like where you have heading 1. So if I open Bare Notes, this is a really, really good way of describing it. Oh, Amazon password straight up there. Yeah. If we look at, I think this is a previous AI founders meeting, you can see if I open this, if I put this will create a heading 2. So it's a kind of a very basic a way of formatting the text. You kind of use brackets, hashtags, not brackets, to denote the various formatting of the text. Like I have a title, and then maybe you want a heading, maybe you want hyperlinks in there, and you put brackets around them to show that. Google Docs uses Markdown, and something like Bare Notes, something like Apple Notes a little bit uses Markdown. This Markdown is the language of AI agents. It's what the AI agents and what AI uses when you sort of discuss with it. It likes Markdown because it's very simple and it formats things and it organizes the ideas for you. It's also, if you look at Markdown and you compare it to HTML, which remember is all the square brackets. If you right click on any website, it'll bring up all the code. It's much less dense. It's more efficient in terms of the words. So why does this matter? Why do we want to go to the trouble of switching from HTML to Markdown? Well, we need to think about the cost of using AI. So if you are scraping hundreds of thousands of websites, the cost of doing that is going to be pretty expensive. And if you're putting in all the formatting of the website as well, perhaps we just need the text component. Perhaps we don't necessarily need to show that. So having a markdown is much more efficient. It's a much more token efficient, if we will. So tokens, remember, are the cost of AI way of doing things. So as the web is progressing, we need a way for AI agents to be able to really be able to pass this information in a very token efficient way and in an easier way. And what that does as well is it kind of unlocks an ability for AI agents to be, and AI models in general, to scrape things more easily and to just in general make things more cost efficient if you're doing a scrape, and to find things more easily. And so what you can see here is you can see the start of almost like two versions of the web being built. You can see this version, which is the human version with all the formatting on and all the icons, and it's navigatable. And you can see this AI version of the web that's slowly starting to take place as well, where we're saying, actually, do we even need websites anymore? Or is most of our traffic going to be, interactions with them, going to be coming through an LLM like Claude or like ChatGPT? So it's super interesting, I think, from a perspective that actually we went through a phase where we were thinking about, is if you have your own website, as you might, maybe it would be the website developer's owner, someone like Tony. It would be his responsibility to make sure all the websites that he's developing for have a markdown version of the website. And for a while, people were doing that. They were putting something called llms.txt. It was like a markdown file of the website. What this does is it takes it a layer up. It takes the responsibility away from someone like Tony, and it's actually taking it to the infrastructure level. So the engineers are kind of baking this in. So when somebody's setting up a website on, say, Cloudflare or hosting it, they're setting it up in such a way that it will automatically pass the information. Come on in. Pass the information through. So I think it's very, very interesting. And Cloudflare put this out, I think, a month ago. And it's actually very, very simple to use. So if we bring up the, yes, so introducing Markdown for agents. So it's well worth going to read this blog post. And so you can see feeding raw HTML to an AI is like paying by word to read packaging instead of a letter simple. So in a simple About Us page, so on a website, so this is HTML, you can see. So Tony will be very familiar with this, telling you that HTML class section title About Us. So Markdown, you would just have the two hashtags About Us. HTML, you have all of this. So when we're thinking about token spend with AI, so when we're actually putting a prompt into AI, the amount of words we give it is really important. There's a cost to that. And essentially, the more characters, the more words, which we call tokens, the more expensive it's going to become. So while this might not look like much, we're going from 16,000 tokens in HTML to just 3,000 tokens in Markdown. That's an 80% reduction. So if you scale that up and you think about, millions of websites, that's huge when it comes to token efficiency. And that means that the spend on doing things like web scraping could therefore be potentially reduced by 80%. So this is a big deal. And it's a big deal because it's being done at the infrastructure level. It's not being now like it's not the responsibility of Tony to make sure that this is done so bots can scrape their LLMs. And you might have heard people talking for a while about um, the importance of this for something called GEO, essentially AI SEO, which is like, is your website being served up by a chatbot to be given in the results? So rather than going to Google as a user, you would go to a chatbot. If you didn't have an LLMs.txt file, then maybe it might make it more harder for the AI to actually pass this. So as we've said, Markdown is becoming the lingua franca for AI systems. And we're turning HTML into Markdown, and we've been steadily doing this, for years and years and years. And to be able to do this automatically is pretty huge. So I'll be making a video for Gcore tomorrow about what we are doing, what Gcore are doing in terms of their offering for this as well. But increasingly, and we're starting to see this. So this is one of these things where you might not even notice it, but it's happening. And we can start to see this AI version of the web being developed. And we've got these two things going on, these two competitive things going on at the moment. We also have these browser use agents. So who here has used, like Claude with like web browser use? It's where like Claude can open up Chrome and start doing things for you. Has anyone had a play with these things? Yeah. So this is a very, very token heavy way of using AI agents using the internet, because you're going into Chrome and you're saying screenshot a page, send it back to me, and then figure out what to do next. And it will come up with a plan and go, well, we can't go there. This formatting is wrong, so now we need to go here. We need to do this. It's a mess if you do that, and it takes a long time. If you've ever tried to do it, it goes through your usage really crazy. It takes like maybe 5 or 10 minutes to do something basic. We've demoed it here before. We have Ryan, who's a property agent here, and we've actually gone in and tried to gather up a list on Airbnb of all the properties in his local area. Could he do that every morning? And you can, but it's pretty token inefficient. This way is, I think, going to be the way forward, the way increasingly the LLMs are going to interact with websites. I think we're going to have a sort of a way of basically serving up the text component content that we need, or maybe the video content that's embedded in there as well will simply be a link. It might even be that when you post a video on a website, we actually get the transcript as well, rather than serving up the whole video. Maybe it serves up the transcript of the video, or even an LLM summarized like key points. So I think this is super interesting. This is obviously a diagram of how Cloudflare are doing it. So the AI asks for the text, and obviously it goes into their network, and then it's Cloudflare who are deciding who is actually accessing this website. Is it a human? Do we need to serve up HTML, or is it an agent? And do we need to serve up some Markdown? Go for it, my man. Yeah.
Just a quick question. So when you're talking about like the Cloudflare, converting HTML to text files, more readable by LLMs, is this more so for the websites that have been built out in the past that they're converting it for better AEO recognition, or like hypothetically, like if you're rebuilding a website now and you're using the LLM.txt files to have all the pages already built in for AEO, that approach still achieves a similar outcome?
So this is another layer up. So if your website is hosted on Cloudflare, you can very easily switch a button and turn this on and say, okay, I now want all my websites to be parsed. If you're not hosted on Cloudflare, or you're not on the fast edge, it's called edge computing with Gcore, then yeah, you would need to implement it yourself. But the cool thing about this is it's about the serving up of the website. So when somebody goes to the website, it makes a decision. Do I need to give HTML, or do I need to give Markdown? When you set it up in the layer below that, I believe you're essentially setting up another file. So it crawls the website in HTML, and then it goes and finds the Markdown, but it still does crawl the site. Now, there has been some pushback against this. There was somebody at Google who said that this was basically a waste of time. And one of the arguments for this is that it could start creating a parallel a parallel internet, and so then you get into a state of where the agent doesn't just have to pass the HTML; it also has to go and pass the markdown as well, because you basically need to identify the source of truth. So it might be that people start changing the markdown so it's not in alignment with the HTML, and it's ripe for some shady things going on, right? With people maybe putting malicious code in the markdown for a website. So it's interesting that obviously Cloudflare are big on security, as Gcore are, and they've started to implement this. But you can see when a big player does something like this, and every time you go on a website, you've probably encountered Cloudflare where you have to do the capture, and Gcore have a huge market share as well. They're in 200 locations. I think it speaks to where we're going in terms of creating almost a new web for AI agents and what we're thinking about. So if you are in website development, it's something to be thinking about as well. Are people actually going to be interacting with websites in the same way as they were a few years ago? Go for it, Tony.
I don't know if this is relevant, but there was something called Google AMP. Are you familiar? Accelerated Mobile Pages.
I'm not. No. Explain.
So Google rolled out something called Google AMP, where if you're reading the New York Times and you want it to load faster, there was an AMP version. So you just basically getting the markdown version with pictures.
Yeah.
But for the most part, people weren't using it and it got scrapped. So this feels like a secondary pulse of that. I just wondered if you had any insights on how that, because it's the same thing. Like it's SEO done faster.
So I guess there's three kind of reasons why you want to go down this route, right? One is caching and faster. Now, you can solve that problem by faster internet at source with the ISP through sort of a latency. That's a kind of a latency issue as well. So you'd want the if somebody's calling the New York Times, right? And I think the New York Times, who are they owned by now? They're owned by a massive company. Let's talk about the Washington Post instead of the New York Times. Washington Post is owned by Bezos, so hopefully they're set up on AWS's top of the range for newspapers. So you would want all of the servers for the newspapers to be available on like as many servers as you possibly can. So you'd say, okay, I want it to be available like in Canggu and in New. So if somebody in Canggu calls it, they're only having to call it from Canggu or maybe Singapore, right? Maybe they haven't reached the backwaters of Canggu, Bali yet, and has to go to Singapore. And if someone in New York, there'll be multiple data centers. So there's a latency issue for faster loading. That's not necessarily just related to the size of the page, even though that's like quite a smart idea. But then there's the sort of the token efficiency of it as well. So if you're doing mass scraping, and you're wanting to use some data with AI agents, you're going to spend a lot of tokens on actually going out to these websites and scraping them. And this makes it a little bit easier and a little bit 80% as we've seen more cost efficient. So it's huge. So there are multiple angles. There's the SEO angle, where you can obviously do this yourself to make it easier. There's a sort of scraping kind of element to it, and then absolutely, you're right. There's the loading time for these websites as well, and obviously there's a loading time to LLMs as well. So there's an interesting question. You can see clearly, with Claude, it takes quite a long time for it to go and search and bring back the information compared to if you actually just went to the website and waited for it to load. So that's an interesting comparison as well. How long are we willing to wait to get the information that we want? Yeah.
Is there a relationship with how Claude skills are marked down by? Is the agent looking at websites now as skills that it can explore?
Interesting. So there is you're absolutely right to pull that out. That skills are in Markdown. So everybody familiar with what skills are with Claude? Everybody? Yeah. Okay. So a skill is like a repeatable instruction. So on Claude, you can say, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, so we'll see these in action, so we won't go into it now. You can basically say, okay, you've done all of these tasks, and if you've ever had a back and forth with Claude and it hasn't managed to do something the first time, and then you've had to say, well, try it like this instead, and then it works it out, you can log all of those steps in a skill that's repeatable. So next time you want to do that task, you just load up this skill. And all a skill is a markdown file. It's like this text that says exactly how it should be done in a very ordered way with all the right headings. And you'll notice this a lot when Claude outputs information. So you are right, Markdown has become, for some reason, the language of LLMs. It's kind of easier to parse. It's not hugely messy, and I suppose it means the reader can very easily see what's going on as well, and you can very easily find information. But you said something specific. You said are skills or yeah.
Agents could look at websites
Yeah.
skills and mark down a way to
it wouldn't have any repeatable instructions in it. So a skill defined is like repeatable instructions for it to do things. So there wouldn't really be a reason for Claude to go to a website and then look at it as a skill. So they are different things technically. They're serving different purposes.
Yeah. If there are API logs, stuff that used.
But it would take those. It would probably need to pass them into like a skill is can be multiple files as well. That's the other thing to remember as well. So the API logs that you would want would probably be put into a huge markdown file with instructions, and then it would say API logs in header 3 or header 4 as a reference, so that it knows where they are. So it's a way of organizing a lot of big information into a repeatable task. Yeah. All right. Well, I think this is a really important story. I think going forward, and this came out a month ago, and it's the start of a number of things that we're seeing of these big players who are kind of like infrastructure legacy players, really starting to redevelop what the web actually is. We've seen some of that go on with the kind of payment infrastructure that's going on as well. So if you want to make payments on the web, there is a specific protocol that can be used, and we've now seen that as well with this as well. All right, let's move on to the next story, which I think is worth paying attention to as well. So I'm just curious, who here is a coder? Who is coding? Anyone coding? We have a couple of people. Yeah. I see Tiffany go like that. You must be an expert coder by now after AI boot camp. Yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, you're sat in front of the camera. Yeah. What program is everybody using to code? Everybody using Cursor or Claude Code or Codex? Bolt and so Livable is for websites, but for coding websites, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Cursor, cool. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. Claude Code. Okay. Who's using Cursor? Okay, we've got 2 people using Cursor. Why are you using Cursor over some of the other tools like Codex or Claude Code? What do you like here?
My friend just showed a really good way that you could build like color coding and like terminal, so there's no limitation on context windows when you're building Claude Code with Cursor. So there's a 1 million token context window on most LLMs.
I see.
But if you build it in with Cursor, you can have your separate project set up, but you can essentially run multiple terminals at once.
Okay, it makes sense. Okay, and do you know what model you're using with Cursor? Like, are you?
Not too sure.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So Cursor they put out a story that we're going to go into about their own model. So let me just put up AI founders. There we go. So Cursor put out their own model, and notice I'm using inverted commas. So you can obviously use whatever model you want on Cursor. It's kind of an aggregator, right? So you could use Opus 4.6. This is the obviously the top of the range model. You could use OpenAI's GPT 5.4. I nearly said that the wrong way around then. And you can use some of the Chinese models as well. So you could select which model you want. But what Cursor have done is they put out their own model, which is obviously significantly cheaper than Opus 4.6, is a way of trying to get people in to use their model that's more kind of efficient. But what they did, which was really, really interesting, was that they kept quiet about what they'd actually done. So if you see this article in the Decoder, you can see there were two articles. So the Decoder, by the way, for you guys that don't know, is I think one of the best sources to get AI news and information. I did write for it, so if you go on there, you'll find 40 articles from me. So fully transparent there, but I still think it's one of the best sources for AI news. You'll see Cursor takes on OpenAI and Anthropic with Composer 2, a code-only model built to match rivals at a fraction of the cost. So when this was initially reported, the Decoder reported on Composer 2 as if it was a brand new model that Cursor had brought out, that they built from scratch, with some pretty impressive costs. So remember, if you're coding, you're paying via API generally to build what you're trying to build. And so if we look at Opus 4.6, which by any measure I think at the moment is probably the top model, you see input tokens, $5 per 1 million input tokens, output $25 per 1 million output tokens. So you're going to be spending a lot. Composer 2, 50 cents input per million tokens to $2.50. So huge there, and you can see GPT 5.4 obviously giving Opus 4.6 a run for its money as well. Half the cost. So when this was reported, it was reported that they built a model from scratch, Composer 2, just for coding, which is really, really impressive. But they failed to say that actually it was built on top of Kimi 2.5, which is an open source model. And you can see here they had to update the article because they'd not been public with this until they were found out by Kimi. So Cursor's new AI model is built on top of the Chinese open source model Kimi K2.5. And Cursor employee says roughly a quarter of the pre-training comes from the base model, with Cursor doing the rest through fine-tuning. So they've fine-tuned Kimi 2.5. So fine-tuning is a technical term for when we're essentially refining the model on a kind of a unique data set. Because of that and additional training, the model's benchmarks differ from the original Kimi K2.5, and there's a commercial license. So Cursor never disclosed any of this, drawing a lot of criticism. And it only came out when Kimi employees actually dug into the model themselves and had a look at it. They said it was a miss to not mention the Kimi base in our blog from the start. We'll fix that for the next model. So why did they keep quiet in the first place? Well, because admitting to it could concede that they don't actually have the resources to build a frontier model. So they don't actually have the funds to be able to build something like a Claude Opus or to take on OpenAI. So both of them poured billions into a proprietary base models. Cursor simply can't play at that level. So they kind of tried to keep quiet about it. And here they're saying they could have pitched the open source fine tuning as actually a billion-dollar shortcut, because you don't have to spend the billions on actually training the model, on gathering the data, but you still end up with a really, really good output. And so here we have a bit of an opinion saying Cursor would have been much better off owning the open source angle from the start, positioning comparable results from a fine-tuned open source model as proof that a billion-dollar proprietary development isn't the only path forward. So if you're coding, it might be worth having a think about, could you use Composer 2.0? What are the results? Because when you look at the price, there's huge cost reduction there if you were to use it. So if anyone has used it or is using it in products, I'll be super curious to hear. But yeah, absolutely worth having a play around with this. I did look for it on OpenRouter, which is kind of like a model aggregator, to see whether it was there, but I couldn't see it. So yeah, it might be worth looking into if you're using Cursor. All right, well, we are getting through things very fast. Let's go on to the next story. So if you're coding, this might be relevant to you. And obviously the Markdown, HTML to Markdown is worth thinking about if you are thinking about websites or a web developer. And it's really worth thinking about that in terms of trends. Where are we going with AI and the internet? And what might be next? So if you're building a solution and you are thinking about what can you actually build, thinking about what does this space look like in 6 to 12 months is really important. So thinking about, okay, what does the web look like? So for Tony, in a world where the websites are just served Markdown, and where people are getting, all of your clients are getting all of their information from websites from LLMs, when that's the majority of the traffic that's going through to them. How could you adjust your business for that? How could you offer a service or an offering that's going to reflect that? So the next thing we're going to talk about is Claude. Now, who here uses Claude? Hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up. Yeah, controversial. Those who didn't put their hands up. Do you just prefer OpenAI to Claude? Do you just prefer using ChatGPT? Oh, you just would say okay. Gemini and Claude. Okay. Who here has used the Co-Work feature in Claude? Okay. Interesting. Who here has used Claude Code for coding? Okay. So Claude Co-Work, which I think is a fascinating tool and an amazing tool, and I think it could replace a lot of the tools that you use. I put out a brand new feature this week, and it's called Dispatch, and I think it's really, really interesting. So who here has heard of Dispatch or has been using it? Yeah. So it means you can actually give Claude instructions from your phone, and you can set multiple tasks off at once. And I think it's really the biggest development that's come out. So if you want to know how to enable it, just for those that haven't, we'll load up Claude. Always dangerous to bring up your chat history. You can see we've got Dispatch here. So here I asked it to log my workout, which I log in an app called Heavy, and I said, could you log it in my Notion tracker for me? So if you go to this tab here, you can actually set it up from your phone, and then so long as your computer is on, you can actually use this to do all kinds of really cool tasks. And so you'll note before that MCPs, remember that's the Model Context Protocol, that's a way of connecting tools up with Claude. Generally speaking, are installed locally on your computer. Installing them remotely is a possibility, so you can access them from your phone as well. It's very complicated to do. This kind of solves that problem because all of your MCPs are installed locally. It means you can chat on your phone and you're kind of remote controlling your computer. On that note, Claude also released something brand new, I think just this morning actually, which is that they've taken Dispatch one step further. Dispatch will now shortly will enable you to use any single app on your computer. So you can give Claude an instruction when you're at the gym, so long as your computer is on and Claude is open. And it can not only do things within the ecosystem you've set up, I could say to it, okay, go and, for instance, download some music for me on Apple Music. Go on to Perplexity. I believe so. Any app, yeah. So I think it works similar to how the Chrome browser tool works, where it goes in, learns how you do things. So really, really cool and really interesting. So what does all this show? And remember, we've also got this scheduled thing as well, which I think is super, super important. This is all a part of the OpenClaw conversation. So remember, all of these things that Claude has shipped, dispatch, scheduled, Co-Work, in essence, Co-Work came out slightly before. They're all a response to the OpenClaw moment. That idea that you can set up a computer and it can just run and run and run and run and run and do all kinds of crazy stuff on your behalf. But what was the main issue with that? Why? What was the problem with setting up an OpenClaw? Go for it, Gary. Yeah.
It would act like a crazy person.
Yeah. Yeah. You sound like you've had some experience in this matter.
Yeah. I think not. I've heard a lot of stories which I was like, that sounds like somebody you were dating that just like went crazy.
Yeah. It is a bit like that. Yeah, David, our mutual friend, told me some stories of he gave it access to his WhatsApp and it was messaging his landlord with some creepy stuff. So the main problems are there's no guardrails on it and security. You would expect me to say that I work for G-Core, the security nuts, if you will. You if you give it access to everything, there's a whole minefield of things in the way that it's architected. First of all, a lot of people were setting this up on their home computer, so then it has access to all their files. If you don't set it up on your home computer, you need to go and get a VPS. If you get a VPS, a virtual private server, your IP address might be public if you don't know how to lock it down properly, and then anybody can jump in there. And anything you connected to OpenClaw, be that your WhatsApp, your Telegram, they can potentially take control of it. So it was great in the kind of zeitgeist in what it allowed people to do, but I felt like all it really did is open a conversation up, and it wasn't really a mature tool. It was an open source tool, so it means it was kind of built by somebody who put all the software in the public domain for everybody to use, and it was a great hype cycle. We saw lots of videos about it, but as I said repeatedly, I don't think it was really worth the effort of setting it up unless you just wanted to play around with it. I said that we would move in this direction, and that if we waited, then we will we would get these features in the bigger players, and they would be fully secure and fully locked down, and you'd be able to give it all the right permissions. And that's exactly what's happened. We had Perplexity Computer, which came out first, and now we've had Claude Co-Work catch up as well. And what I think is really cool about this is if you were building stuff out like this before, you could build out these rules-based systems with NAN automations, but they'd be pretty complicated. And you would reach a point where you would need to code even with a node-based system, and you would need to debug it, you would need to maintain it, or you need to use something like OpenClaw and set it up. Now everybody has access to these tools, and you can create these scheduled workflows that go every day and can make your life a lot easier. So I think it's really cool. And we've also seen Perplexity Computer, by the way, if you were looking at that, it was $200 a month. You had to have their top max subscription to be able to use it. Now they actually do include it in their $20 subscription, and you get a certain amount of tokens. So you have to top it up with tokens as well. So we have all these ways of doing really cool stuff. Who here has had a play with Perplexity Computer? Has anyone played with it? No? Yeah. So as ever, with your business and whatever you're going to, I always say the best thing that you can do is think about what are your use cases for your business? What are you actually working on in your business? And how do you solve those problems? Don't think, wow, there's this new tool that's come along and geek out on it. That can send you down a road to nowhere, really. List your tasks in your business first. What are the things that are most annoying, that are repetitive, that you could actually do and take those off? What is the cost of hiring a VA on Fiverr to do those tasks for you versus actually setting up one of these tasks for you, these scheduled tasks to do in terms of tokens? And then start thinking about how you can implement them. Create yourself a massive list and then think about how can you architect a system that's going to make your life easier. Don't go the other way around and start shopping and looking for stuff. I would think backwards about what you can actually do and how much work can it take off of you already. Yeah. Who here is using Claude Co-Work for anything? I'm really interested in people's use cases for Claude Co-Work. Anything? What are you using it for? Your social? Yeah.
But I've actually tried to dispatch today.
Yeah.
So it's like really intriguing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've tried them in conjunction.
Yeah.
You just /computer use it. It's kind of like code extension, but on the actual code rather than having. But dispatch, one thing I do have to say about dispatch is that Google is on top of it. Like I try to get it to send an email by my Gmail. I'm like, okay, pull up XYZ document, PDF, and send my business partner link document by our email account. Google has actually blocked it. So Gmail won't allow it to go through. And it's like I'm trying to find ways. And 10 minutes later, I'm still sitting there for just send an email. So that's one thing I think hasn't really been able to overcome the barrier of security. Google.
Okay.
So for me, I mainly use Co-Work on a daily basis to kind of prioritize my day, like work like a PA, like sort out my emails first in the morning, prioritize what's urgent in terms of response, get the response ready. Yeah, craft it, and then because I do it by blocks, so I just kind of break down the task one at a time. So sometimes I find that when you do too many things in one Co-Work,
Mm. Yeah.
So I'm like, do this at 7 a.m., do this at 9 a.m.
I would say, so I would say two things. One thing that I have been doing that you might find useful is to give Claude the Gemini MCP, or perhaps I'd be interested to see whether that could get around. And you get the Google API and set up all the permissions for it, because you get a certain amount of free API credits every day, I think, with them, or with every month. So yeah. No. So, yeah, you it's like a connector. Yeah.
Because Google's honestly like Google Meta's been
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like this security barrier. Like if I'm sitting there, agree, allow.
Yeah.
I'm like for 10 minutes. I'm like I could have sent this goddamn email myself, like and attach like 10 attachments. I'm like, agree. So that's
Yeah, I did notice that even when you have the connector on Claude Desktop for Gmail, it will only put things in your drafts. It won't actually send the emails for you. Somebody was complaining about this to one of the engineers on at Anthropic, and they said we're figuring out how to do it safely. So I wonder whether Gemini is a way to do that, and also maybe looking at some third-party tools as well for email. Fixo is a really good one. I use Notion Mail, which auto categorizes all my emails for me and can do auto responses. And yeah, 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 yeah. We're going to come on to look at a use case of how I've actually using Gemini API in a minute with Claude Co-Work. But that's one thing to really remember is whenever you can't do something, could you actually give it access to the API or to the MCP to that specific tool? So I wonder as well. I suspect you might face a blocker, but it might be worth exploring whether you could actually. What does say Llama or what does Manus AI have access to in terms of Meta's backend? And if that works more effectively, and you play with Manus, so you play with say Llama, could you then connect that into Claude as a way? And you'd obviously be paying twice. You'd be paying for Claude, but you'd also be paying. Yeah. 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 Everyone's trying to block each other from doing. Yeah.
Everything on either Co-Work or Claude Code, so then I can get rid of all the others.
Yeah, it's a really good way of thinking, I think. So, yeah, has anybody else got any experiences with Claude Co-Work or interesting use cases they want to share that would be useful for everyone? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Just a few things to point out, but you go. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So we actually use Co-Work as essentially her lawyer on a daily basis. That she gets all this, like she's representing herself as going through divorce, it's very expensive, and she's actually connected Co-Work to a forensic. Anyone that wants to know, there's a forensic legal connector on Co-Work. So just like on a daily basis, what she's actually been able to do is scan her email because she gets anxiety just opening up her email. So what she's actually done is get to scan the email, summarize, because a lot of it's legal jargons through her ex-partner's delivery represented, she's self-represented, and so just break it down in layman's terms, and then set up another co-work to then pretty much rebut that whole system. So I thought that was actually quite interesting. We were running, I'm like, let's give it a go and see. So we sat down and we're like, okay, let's build this out.
Yeah.
There's a forensic app, like a legal forensic app, like it's really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, it's a really good use case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, if you get a lot of emails or you get a lot of anxiety about opening them, having it passed into language that's going to be easy for you to, or even just into tasks, not even to emails, just you need to do these things. Yeah. It can be a really good way of, yeah. All right. Okay, yeah. Well, let's go.
I've worked out a way just with like dispatch, obviously.
Yeah.
You've got to keep awake and ground
Yeah.
actions off. I haven't been able to work out how to get dispatch up with vulnerability or code
Yeah.
or co-work. Like it seems like it's segregated across
So you need to add it, I think, as a capability onto code. I think there's a command, and it's separate from called Co-Work where you turn it on. I haven't turned these on because these are new features to me actually. I've only just seen them this morning, so I'm gonna tick that. I want it awake all the time. Yeah.
You could set it up as a skill though on your local post and
Yeah.
code.
You'd set it up differently in Claude Code than you would in Co-Work. So in Co-Work, it's very easy. You just switch it on. But for code, if you want it to do reoccurring tasks, you can set that up. I think, and you set it up slightly differently. I believe. So yeah. But I don't have much experience with setting it up on Claude Code. It's just from what I've read. I actually use Codex when I want to code something over Claude. Let's have a little bit of a go at thinking about a use case then. So I'm super interested to share this with you. So I set myself a challenge last week when I came, which was that I want to get better at doing YouTube, and I think the best way to get better at anything is obviously by practicing and by trying. YouTube is obviously my main job. So it's like, how can I set myself up a second channel in something that might make me some money that would mean I don't have to hire anyone. I could simply use Claude to do it. So I set up a channel. I found this historian. His name is Andrew Lowney, and he is on top of all of this sort of like Prince Andrew Epstein scandal stuff. So he wrote a book that essentially has led to the arrest of Prince Andrew and detailed all his various shenanigans. He spent 4 years writing this book, speaking to all the ex-diplomats who had all these crazy stories about him. But I noticed he's trying to do social media, and he's a very traditional sort of person. He owns a literary agency, and he's in, I guess, what you call the establishment in Britain. He publishes a lot of very respectable books, and he does a lot of mainstream media, but he's also trying to do all the podcasts and all the kind of alternative media as well, which I think is very respectable. But he wasn't really doing any clips. And I noticed no one was clipping up his content. And obviously, that's the thing you kind of need to do if you're a social media manager. So I set up Andrew Lowney Clips to clip up all his content for him, but also for me. And I thought I could set it up as a channel. I could put some affiliate links in the bio to his books, and so I will get a cut every time someone buys his books from me. And obviously, they're in the zeitgeist at the moment. There's so much to talk about, and I could also obviously make some money with recurring revenue from ads as it grows as well. So potentially three kind of two streams of revenue there. So I set it up last week, and I started thinking about how could I use Claude to clip up the content? How could I gather all his media appearances, clip them up, into shorts and then just post them without it taking up too much of my time. Now, this guy is on the media a lot. He's on all of the big mainstream media in the UK, but then also all of the podcasts as well. And he's also trying to do his own social media as well. He's also has his own weekly kind of show where somebody interviews him about some of the little things that are coming up in the scandal. So I set it up last week, and I've been doing 2 clips every single day. And I set Claude up with a skill with Gemini, and I set up a Notion page as well. And what I walked through last week that I was able to do is that I have Claude every day, or as much as I want, go into Notion, look at all the previous clips and the long form videos that it's already clipped, know not to do those. Then it will use the Gemini MCP and it will search all of YouTube, look for any media appearances that I haven't cut up yet that are really interesting. Then it will look for all the viral hookable bits within them as a transcript, because Gemini has access to YouTube. Remember, Gemini is Google's model. It will find those hookable moments, maybe 8 or 10, and then it will get the long form video and it will chop it up into small parts, and it will do the face detection to make sure that the face is not cut off out of the frame. So it does all of that. That's what I did last week with the two videos. Then what I did is I also made a skill to do the captions as well and the music, so that after it has done the clips, when I've okayed them and say yes, these are all okay, we'll also put captions that go on every single letter after them. So after having done that, I thought, well, could I do an end card as well? I've been putting out these videos, but my subscriber count wasn't going up and they were getting some traction. So then I had Claude go into Canva, make me a little end card that animates at the end that says, subscribe for daily clips, and promotes his books and says that, the links to the books are in the description as well if you want to buy his books, if you're interested in the topic. So then he started doing that, and today I've added in a music skill to it as well. So I went on 11 Labs, I created about 11 different pieces of music, and so it will now select the relevant piece of music to the clip. So you're getting to a point where it can make an entire short for you and sort of automate that. So I've been putting them out. Let's have a look at the statistics and see how well this has performed in the last week. It's from 11 Labs. 11 Labs where you can make your own music. So we'll have a look at the channel. And this has not taken that much time actually of me at all. The only real time it's taken is actually, playing around with Claude to get the skills right. So if we look at Andrew Lowney clips, let's go in the back end. You can see 1 week in from when I started this, we are at 42 subscribers. And yeah. And if we look at the, let's get the data up. The data is really interesting. I think this is pretty impressive for a side channel that Claude is managing. 42 subscribers, and pretty much every short that has gone on. Why does it want to verify that it's really me?
You're in studio and it's checking.
Yeah, but I've done this before. I just want to. Okay.
What's the cost in token usage?
I have a max plan, and so far I haven't exceeded that. So that's a really good question. So yeah, I started realizing that if I run this every day, I'll actually have 2 more clips than I need. If you do more than 3 a day, I think it oversaturates it. Go for it, Tiffany. Yeah.
What are you using to actually clip the content?
I'm using Claude. Claude will clip content for you. I'm using FFmpeg. It will go away. It will install FFmpeg, and it will actually clip the content for you based on the transcript. So Gemini will get the transcript, tell it the timestamps, and then Claude will go and actually clip it for you. So if you tell Claude to set it up, it can do this. So you don't even need things like Opus Clips anymore. And I found these do a much better job than Opus Clips.
Do you watch them before they get posted?
Yes, yeah. I have some quality control. I go in there, inspect them, and then I say, that one's good, that one's not. You messed the frame up a little bit. Most of them are good now. When I started, some of them were a little off, and I've started realizing that there's certain channels that he goes on that are easier to clip than others. So we clipped up, you'll see some of the Jeremy Kyle ones that he went on, and there's all kinds of like graphics on the screen and B-roll, and it really had a problem with figuring that out. The content that he puts out himself, where it's just him speaking, somebody else on a webcam speaking, and it switches between them, that's easier for it to clip up. So there are some limitations. But if we look at the analytics, you see, 1 week in, 22,000 views overall, and not a single short has had less than not a single short has had less than 1,000 views for a new channel. So this is crazy. If you look at them, this one 3,000 views, this one nearly 3,000 views, 1,000, and it does a really good job at finding the juicy bits, about what is happening. And so you can also do keyword research as well, which I'm sort of trying to lean into as well. So have it go and look for what's trending at the moment, and then maybe you start making the clips based on what is trending. But it's a really interesting topic. So, and what's really interesting is that you can actually see the average percentage that people have viewed as well. So if you look at like how far people have got through the short, you can see some people are watching them more than once. They're watching it 115%, 86.1%. So this is really, really high for retention in terms of what it's doing. So I think the point with this is that you try and make it better every time. You don't just sit on your laurels and say, okay, well, it's doing this now. You think, how can I improve the system? So now we're doing music. Eventually, I want to do some B-roll as well. So what I would love to figure out, what I'd love to come back here next week and tell you is that I've actually had it go to a newspaper website, screenshot the newspaper, and then like put the relevant article to whatever they're speaking about, or maybe a picture of Princess Beatrice or Eugenie, or a picture of Prince Andrew when he says that, and take it off. So I wonder how much of a challenge that will be. I'm really interested as to whether it can do that. So that's the first thing. The second thing that it could do that's quite surprising is if we look at if we go back to the content, you can see I've had a go at doing long form content. Now, it hasn't performed quite as well, 82 views. I still think that's decent for a very first video. The video is 20 minutes long. And so what it's done is this is actually easier to make than the short form content because it doesn't have to put it in 16.9. So it can go away and find all the different relevant parts. So say we want to do a compilation. So this one is like, what happens next to Prince Andrew? So it's all the times he's spoken about what's going to happen to him. Is he going to go to prison? Is he going to go to court? Are the royal family going to allow him to go to trial? And on that particular topic. So I can find all the relevant parts where he's speaking about that topic and then put them together and then put a thumbnail on it. So we could have him on Meghan Markle. So I'm experimenting. I'm seeing, can we do this? What about if I put one out with a voiceover over where I'm giving a little bit of commentary to it? What about if I go in the studio and I make a video, which is going to be more engaging for people? And what is like the least amount of effort for, I guess, the most amount of return? The other thing that I did as well is I actually reached out to him. I reached out to him and said, hey, I'm doing this. Do you mind if I carry on doing this? Because having buy-in from him, I think, is really important. And his assistant got back to me and said, yeah, absolutely, it's a really good idea. And we had an hour-long chat last night, actually, about ideas. And he's doing his own show, his assistant, with another royal person. And we're already talking about maybe I could do a clips channel for them. So it's a lot of, it opens doors. And what I've done is I've created an opportunity for myself as well, which is another thing that I've done is I've said, found a niche, just gone with it, started making it out, looked at AI tools to see how more efficiently I could do it, and then started reaching out to other people and said, hey, I'm already doing this. Do you mind if I carry on doing it? So it's really interesting. I'm super curious to see where this goes, and in 6 months' time, whether Yeah, maybe I do a clips channel for them. Yeah, yeah. Go for it.
I was just wondering, is it actually Claude Code that does the edits? Caption
You
inputs and the music synchronization?
Yeah, not even Claude Code, Claude itself. Yeah, absolutely. So it uses something called FFmpeg. So I'm happy to share the skills with you. So I tell you what, let's showcase this and show you what it could do. So let's find just a random lonely video that I haven't done yet and show you how it actually how it does this. So if we wanted to say, if we put his name in, so these are all the ones that he does. So did he commit treason? Monarch Uncovered. So this one happened 6 days ago. So I haven't clipped up his interview with. So we'll put this into action and see whether it can do it. Let's just check that it's not just someone speaking over it first. Yeah, so it might struggle with that a little bit because there's some graphics. So let's play it safe and get one from the archives. I think we need to go on his. Yeah, so let's grab this one and just see if it can clip it up for us. So it might take it a while. Sometimes it does take it quite a while to run. We can say, can you use the short clipper to clip this up into content? Please give me the exact clips and timestamps to approve first.
Why did you add please?
Oh, yeah, I feel like, yeah, protecting myself in case the robot, yeah, just in case, Yeah, you're nice. Yeah. Well, are you not nice to it, Gary? You just tell it. Do you just swear at it? Yeah. Is this what we're learning about you? Yeah. Is you okay? Yeah. Yeah. And also, one of the cool things is that Co-Work now has projects as well. So before you actually had to go on chat, like open up your project, and then there was a button that said start a new task. So now it will thankfully allow you to import your projects into Co-Work, which is nice.
Harry, with your short
Yeah.
file,
Yeah.
is that the SQMD that you built?
Yes, I built it myself. Yeah.
Is
So.
it already connected in the back end to Gemini?
Yes, yeah. So I've connected Gemini via MCP first. I've done that. I've also, as part of this project, connected it. Yeah. Yeah. I get yeah. So we've got.
Curious how you're connecting all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's got Notion first. So ordinarily, yeah. Look. So let me check the Notion's clip log for any existing clips from this video, and it says no existing clips from this video in the Notion log. So we'll bring that up while it's working its magic, so you can see that.
And why do you use Co-Work instead of Claude Code in this case?
I just like Co-Work easy. I find Claude Code a little bit annoying in the way that it works. If I want to code, I actually go to Codex from OpenAI, so personal preference. So we can see here, it tells you this is the source channel, the source video, the status, the timestamps that it's doing, and then the video ID, which is really important, and the sometimes the short ID. So it checks this and the date and all the things that it's made. So yeah, really great. And so what I have to do sometimes, there are some limitations to this. I've connected it to the back end of my YouTube as well. I find if I let it schedule them for me, it will screw up all the other schedules that I've done already, even if I ask it to go and do analytics for me. So what I end up usually doing is taking a screenshot of all the schedules and then sometimes passing it and saying just update the Notion based on what's in the schedule and scheduling them myself. Because it tends to, again, overly lock them down and put them into private. It doesn't necessarily allow you to put them out straight away. So this is the first stage of it, is Notion. Then what we do is it's using Gemini. It's using the Gemini API to actually go and explore YouTube, which you can't do with Claude because it's blocked. And so you can see here, it's ranking these clips also based on what's worked before, right? So it's looking at the back end as well and also keeping an eye, because it's in my project, on what clips are working and which ones are not. So clip one, the Russian intelligence dossier, suggested title, Andrew Lanny reads classified intelligence report on Prince Andrew, and it tells you this is why it works, and it's giving you the exact timestamp, so it's 90 seconds. The king is in big trouble, and it tells you the title should be, was King Charles complicit in covering up Andrew's activities? Shredders running in Whitehall. So suggested title, Prince Andrew has been destroying evidence for 2 months. So very specific. Intelligence sources told me this week it's worse than everyone realizes. So these are like really compelling. Princess Margaret's warning. So this is one that people would love, because they love all the gossip, the Harry and Meghan, the Princess Margaret. And when I've looked at all the analytics, we've got a huge analytics audience of like up to I think it's like 65 and above. I think it's something crazy, like 70% of the audience is female and 65 and over. So what yeah, you just need to set up with the API with Gemini, and you'll be able to call Gemini with the MCP. So yeah, but you just yeah. Just for Gemini. Gemini allows you to access YouTube, so that's the way that you would do it. But there's a Gemini one, there's a YouTube one as well. There's a specific API for YouTube that you can give it to access. You just need to go on the back end in Google and give it the three access to the three API scopes that you need. One is reporting, I think one is data, and one is something else. But there's three that you need to activate in the back end. Yeah. 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 I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Maybe one day it will disappear. Maybe. So let's get back to this. We want to get through this. So we've clipped. We see it's got the clips. So now let's run the automation to see if it can actually clip it. Okay. Go ahead and clip these for me. Put them in a folder. So I've already clipped some today. That is like, let's say 24th of 3rd, 2026, but like clips 2 or something, as we've already clipped today. So if I really wanted to, I could run this every single morning. I don't want to run this every morning because I don't need to, and I think I would be going through my max usage. But I mean, you don't have an option yet in Claude to actually schedule it every other day. You can do daily, weekly, I think, or monthly or hourly. I don't think you can actually do. So at the moment, I'm just doing it as and when I need to, right? So I will just maybe twice a week I'll just run it, which is not too much work. Yeah, but if I wanted to, I could run it every day.
Kind of like you could use this for your other social media last Thursday. That workshop was
Yeah, and we lost all the audio for that actually. I know, yeah. So yeah, if I'd set this up for that workshop, yeah, I think that workshop gave me ideas. Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah, in a week we've been able to do this. Yeah. So it does something that I've told it to do, which is to preview a frame first. So it takes a still, it looks at it, and then checks that it's correct before it actually goes on. So it takes a number of these to make sure that it doesn't cut the face out. Because when it first did this, it would like crop the face would be out of the frame, and yeah.
That's how we like a YouTube video.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's how the shorts work.
Yeah.
So your first prompt is calling the skills that you already set up.
No. Skill is where is a reusable. So once you work with Co-Work, this is the way that I would recommend you building a skill. You work with Co-Work and you debug the problem. So here, one problem I had was that it was cutting the faces up. Another problem that we had was there were different formats used. So sometimes you get two people speaking and you have them like below each other. And it will switch from that mode to maybe just one of them speaking and it's full frame and then the other person speaking full frame. So essentially you have like three different styles of cuts that are going on. And so you need to make it aware of the different styles that are going on. Is it just one person speaking to camera? Is it two people having an interview remotely? Is it two people having an interview remotely, but you've got like the full screen like that for some of it, and then sometimes it goes from like full screen from one person to the other? Is it an interview where you've got them like essentially in a box, and then all around it you've got all of the graphics for that show with B-roll running underneath? So you basically need to like anticipate every single eventuality and put them all in a skill and say, please detect, is this format 1, is this format 2, is this format 3? And so you run through all of that and then you save it in a skill so it knows which path to go down. So it knows, for instance, this is a single speaker layout. And it's cut the 8 landscape clips. So it's cut them into landscape clips first. And now it's going to cut them into 9.16 vertical shorts. So we'll see how long it takes. Let it load. Yeah. See how nobody is complaining about this, but we've just accepted that this is how long it takes to run LLMs. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. But I also want to point out one other thing to you, which is this. The next stage, I think, of this would be, could you hire somebody to run this for you? Could you hire somebody in the Philippines or an assistant who's just like amazing at using these systems that could actually run all this for you, and it's just their job to sit and manage this. And the other thing to think about as well is that everybody has access to this now. So a lot more people are going to be doing this. So the key thing is, can you use this to get yourself off the ground, which is what I'm trying to do. Get to a point where I'm making some revenue, so then I can hire a video editor that can obviously do a better job than this. And can I add some B-roll into it? Can I make it better? That's the other thing. So it's done clips 1, 2, and 3, but the chain seems to have stopped. So let me finish clips 4 to 8. One thing I want to ask people, and while we're waiting for this to go, I briefly had this week access to, it said Opus 4.6 and then in brackets it said 1 million context window. Did anyone else have that? Yeah. And then has it disappeared for you as well? Yeah. Yeah. Me and a friend, we both had it and then they took it away from us, and so we were very annoyed. It hasn't really made a huge difference. It just means you have to obviously just compact more often. But it's super useful to have 1 million context window, but they seem very stingy with it. they bring it out and then they go, no, you can't have that. We're taking it away from you. So yeah. So yeah, post in the WhatsApp group if you still have it. Yeah.
Well, I guess because the project that I'm currently working on has that 1 million token thing. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's set.
Yeah.
So, but are you saying with a new project there could be the fact that?
Yeah, have a check because I had this in some of the windows and then it just wasn't there anymore. They got rid of it, and when you reloaded the project, it switched the model out to Opus 4.6 instead of with the 1 million. So, yeah.
Harry,
Yeah.
when you from the beginning, can you use the short skipper to
Thank you, Tony. Yeah.
running skills? So your skill's name was short skipper, so you name your skill and then you call it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So when you said can you use the short skipper to flip, and then it says running skill, so you name the skill to short skipper, and then you can just kind of
Yeah, so I debugged all of this and then I save it as reusable instructions and I call it my shorts clipper skill. Thank you, Tiffany. Yeah. So I saved it as a reusable skill, and you can share that with other people. Now, if I shared this with you guys, I could, but it's only probably going to clip Andrew Lowney content, right? So, and it's only going to be refined for them. But it has all the tools that it needs in there. One of the things is called FFmpeg, and that's what actually does the clipping. Right, so it's finished it. It's copied to OneDrive, and now it's just logging the 8 clips in my Notion database, which is really cool. So whenever it clips anything, it logs it all in Notion, so we have a record of it, and next time we run it, it doesn't copy anything. Let's just see if we can take a look at the clips for people before they head off. Should be in ready. So this is what it's done. So we'll put the change.
I'm picking up all sorts of stories from my sources. It's interesting to see that Tim Shipman in the last week's Spectator Diaries, it was a national security issue and had been briefed by Whitehall. And in fact, I look now at file
it's a bit awkward.
Here,
yeah, see, it hasn't anticipated that he's going to put his glasses on and look away. Yeah.
Political corruption, Andrew Mountbatten.
Yeah.
AMW.
So it's okay, a bit awkward that he looks away. Let's check this one.
Brilliant. Well, before we rewind to the
Do you tell it to do videos 1 minute
taking the leaks of the last.
On YouTube, you can put shorts out up to 3 minutes. So yeah, so that's a new rule that came in the end of 2014. Yeah, so 90 seconds is okay. Actually, they like having longer ones these days because you kind of can get more from them. So yeah.
But you told it to do 90 seconds.
I told it do what you think is clippable, right? So we could do 30 seconds if there's one that's 30 seconds, but.
Do you give it rules in terms of like making it viral, or do you have a sort of benchmark?
Yeah. So I set up a whole project. This is the Lowney Clips YouTube, my custom project. And if we go into the projects from chat, so I'll need to open the project. So if we open the Lowney Clips project, you can see we've got all of these files in here. So we've got a big instruction file. So Claude wrote this. You're the growth engine behind Andrew Lowney Clips. These are the things that we want to do. These are all the tools that you have access to for YouTube, content management, reporting. Never use, so it's telling it exactly what to do. And then clip selection criteria. So you must have a hot, strong hook. How strong is the opening in 3 seconds? Strong, shocking, controversial statement. Topical relevance, emotional intensity. So it's grading them based on this grading. Score them highly, data-driven adjustments, pattern tracking. So Harry and Meghan clips get 3 times the average views. So everybody loves Meghan and Harry. Conspiracy theory. And then these kind of templates. So these are like formulas for it. So don't put hashtags in the titles. That's kind of amateurish to do that in 2025. Quote hook, formula revelation, why the palace doesn't want you to know about Diana, the real reason Harry left the royal family. So all really clickable things for our audience. You know, generally readers of like the Daily Mail, a newspaper in the UK, people love this stuff. They lap it up. No, I got Claude to help me write this. So yeah, and then the file management structure as well. So these always go in the right folders for me, so it organizes things. It doesn't create a mess for me all the time. When I started doing this, it would just create a folder on my desktop. So it's great up. Yeah, desktop fills up fast with video files on the M1 Air. I need a new computer, guys. So yeah, so in answer to your question, yeah, a lot has gone on to this, and then I imported that into Co-Work. So now anything to do with Lowney Clips, I just make sure that project is selected, and it will do it for me. The next stage will be to put captions and to put music on it as well. I have a skill that does that. I think that takes quite a while when I ran it earlier, so we won't probably run that today because I know we're at time. But let's see if I could show you one that it made earlier, so you can see how cool they are. So they're not perfect, but I think the point is they're getting there. And sometimes they do need the odd little tweaking in CapCut. You know, maybe putting the wrong word in there. They're not loading. Not loading at all. Yeah, technology is really not being kind to me today. If we have any in my download folder. Yeah. No, this is not it. No. One of the things that it is doing is it's organizing them in OneDrive, but then it's copying them and it's leaving the original copies on my desktop in the folder. So maybe I need to tell it to go through and do a cleanup every week or something. So it doesn't seem capable of actually putting them in the working within OneDrive for sure. But no, I can't seem to. Yeah, so this for some reason, these with music.
To drop.
Yes, I think it's good.
No. See if we can get the ones with music. Yeah, we'll see if it downloads it. I have a feeling it's not going to.
You just go to YouTube.
Yeah. I've scheduled this one, so let's see if that's a really good idea actually.
Think he should abdicate?
If evidence shows that he knew and has covered up his brother's misdeeds, there's no option he has to.
And do you think that's likely?
Again, I'll wait till the official inquiry or they decide, excuse me.
He'll probably be dead by then, won't he?
Well, I'm told through sources he's not very well at all. I don't think any of this has done him any good. So it might be sensible that through ill health, as you and I would, we retire. Because if you actually see nearly 80-year-old going around the world doing a good job as representing the royals, if he's not well, come on, somebody give him a rest. You know, perhaps that's the way forward.
So that's the finished one. So that's the title card it created for, as well. So it can be done. You can do editing with Claude. So it shows you. Yeah, I think really what it shows is that you can get something off the ground like this, and you can start putting out content, and you can do something with just Claude Code. You don't have to actually go away and hire someone anymore to do that first step. And what you would obviously want to do is hire someone eventually as you scale this and as you get more and more subscribers. But you can essentially put this on autopilot if you have an idea.
And for
Yeah.
your last skills with the action and the music, so you connected to the 11 maps that came to
No, I went on to 11 Labs myself and just made that music. But you can do that absolutely. You pay for 11 Labs Music, which is a music and text to speech generator. You can actually add that API and say I want a unique piece of music for every short, and I want you to go away and write a prompt and then bring it back. And you can have Gemini listen to the short to find the cadences and then pass that information back into. So you could do that. You absolutely could. I chose not to because to link. So it really depends how you want to do it. I want to have human oversight. If you wanted, you could have all of this in one massive skill. And so you could say to it, go to Notion, search for Notion, go to Gemini, do the searching, find the relevant clips, turn them into shorts, then put captions on them, and then put the end card on it, and then go out and do an individual piece of music. You could probably do all of that. It would absolutely destroy your context window. I want to have the oversight though, so I want to make sure that it's clipped everything correctly. Because imagine if it cuts the face off, or as we saw in those clips, he decides he wants to put glasses on and you haven't spotted that. Then it becomes an issue, and it's okay. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. Yeah. 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 Well, thank you all for coming.